If there's one thing that all Spanish learners struggle with, is that Spanish is so darn fast. Or at least it feels like it. If you feel like you can't keep up with natives, or you just want your Spanish to sound a little more fluid, we're gonna talk strategies today. There's a few things you can learn from natives and some methods you can use to take your Spanish from abuelo to not abuelo. And that's what we're gonna talk about today at Jiveworld. Now, before we get into any Spanish-specific advice, let me pass on some general language learning advice. These are methods that you could use for any language, even if you were learning Yugoslavian sign language. I don't know. Number 1, talk to yourself. If you're scared of talking to another person in Spanish, especially a native, why not try simulating a conversation with yourself first? You can try a word or a sentence as many times as you need with no pressure, and try building up the speed as you go. So for example, if you take a sentence like "Me ayudas, por favor," you start off with it slow, just like that, and slowly build it up to be faster, and train your mouth to make those sounds faster. Me ayudas, por favor. Me ayudas, por favor. ¿Me ayudas, por favor? Now, another strategy you can use to your advantage is shadowing. And we've made a whole video on this topic before if you want a full deep dive. But shadowing is basically the method of listen and repeat. You listen to a native speaker say a phrase or a sentence and repeat it with exactly the same speed, intonation, slang, and even filler words. By mimicking native speech, over time these patterns will come natural to you when speaking. And you'll also be able to understand them easier from natives. Here you can even start now. Try shadowing these phrases after me exactly as I say them. Ay, se me olvidó comprar leche en el supermercado. Debemos hacer un plan para el fin de semana. ¿Has tenido tiempo de leer el libro que te presté? Now let's get into the nitty-gritty of Spanish. What is it about native Spanish that makes it sound so fast? The secret is shortcuts. There are a certain handful of words that natives will cut or even exclude entirely to save time. Subject pronouns. If you're always including the yo, tú, nosotros in your sentences, you're wasting time and making your sentences unnecessarily clunky. In Spanish, since you have to conjugate verbs according to who does what, the pronoun is implied in the verb and just becomes kind of redundant. Each verb conjugation is specific to one pronoun, like yo hago, tú haces, él hace. So if you have, for example, yo hago, you already know the person involved is yo from the verb hago, because it could never be, for example, tú hago. So therefore, it's enough to just say hago. You can just say comemos to mean we eat, instead of nosotros comemos. You can just say caminan instead of ellos caminan. The meaning is in the verb, so you can just leave out the pronoun. Next, the word para. Para. This word, as you know, means for, as in for you. But natives often call it para to just pa. Vente pa acá. Esto es pa ti. The word estar. Estar. This means to be, and the conjugations are estoy, I am, estás, you are, está, he is, etc. But this verb is so frequently used in Spanish that of course we're gonna find a way to shorten it. In Spanish, you'll hear toy instead of estoy, tas instead of estás, and ta instead of está. For example, estoy cansada. ¿Ontas? So we're cutting off that initial es in estar. And this last tip isn't going to be a specific word, it's actually just a pattern for you to look for. Blending vowels. In Spanish, if a word ends with a vowel, which they often do, and the next word following it begins with a vowel, the transition can be really smooth between them, to where it sounds like just one word instead of multiple words. And what does this look like? For example, if you say está afuera, está ends in the same sound that afuera begins with, a. So you can just blend them and say está fuera, está fuera. smooth. A lot of you might be separating your words like está afuera, but there's no reason for a pause or a break between them when they can flow. ¿Cómo ha sido tu día? Notice that I'm not saying ¿cómo ha sido?, it's ¿cómo ha sido? There's like a middle sound between them, the oa. ¿Cómo ha sido? That's the key here, the middle sound between them that makes the word flow. So those are a couple of words and features you can cut down or just cut out completely to make your Spanish flow just a little bit faster. Now just one more thing, and this is going to put your Spanish over the top. Listen to real native Spanish and often on Jiveworld. Listening is a counterpart of speaking, so if you practice one of these skills, the other is going to improve in turn. We are a Spanish listening app for intermediate learners just like you who want to bring their Spanish to the next level. You can listen to over 100 stories from all over Latin America with listening tools that actually help you digest the content and vocabulary. Remember the shadowing method I mentioned earlier? Our speed controls on the app allow you to slow down the speech as much as you want, which makes shadowing a lot easier to practice. I could keep selling you on it, or you can just go download the app and see for yourself what makes it so great.